I haven't watched Covenant since I first watched it in theaters back in 2017. In theaters, I remember f***ing hating it. Walking out being like, what was that? Especially furious as it didn't further explore a lot of the ideas set up in Prometheus. Video about Prometheus over there if you want to watch it. On rewatch though, while I still have a lot of the same gripes that I had when I first watched it in theaters, I don't hate or resent Covenant like I did back then. Do you remember anything about Covenant? I got food on my shirt. I'm so classy. Tapioca's part of this video now. Two big things I want to say about Covenant. One, I actually think in terms of the horror, particularly the body horror aspect, it's one of the better Alien movies. Like, this is an unpopular opinion, but I really don't like Aliens, the second one, because I think it takes a lot of the terror out of it by making this hive of xenomorphs something formidable to go up against, yes, but it kind of just turns them into generic space bugs when you're mowing them down. And as much as a lot of Aliens are still good, thematically, I much prefer the original, thematically and stylistically, I much prefer the original Alien over Aliens. But in the same way that the tone of Alien is a good bit different to the tone of Aliens, the tone of Prometheus is a good bit different to the tone of Covenant. And that is for better and for worse. One of the things that I really like about Prometheus is that it is patient and slow and tense. And while I do have issues about how it demystifies a lot of the mythology and world building from the other Alien movies, I do like that a lot of the demystifying also brings up more questions, which is good. But then Covenant doesn't really follow up on any of those questions that it raises. There are definitely some issues, like the fact that Shaw is killed off screen, and then we just see the remnants of her body from David's experimentation, which at least the fact that they killed her off screen, issue. The fact that they still used her narratively, good. I would have been far more annoyed if it was like, oh yeah, Shaw died off screen, that's it. She has no relevance to the story anymore. But still not the biggest fan. So like I mentioned in my Prometheus video, I think it's interesting to explore as a form of creationism and what it means to be able to create life and meet your maker. But then Covenant doesn't really thematically follow up on that. Covenant is much more in the horror action-y side of things. And sure, there's a good bit about David monologuing about like the selective breeding of the Xeno and, you know, trying to create this perfect creature. There are some moments that I really like of where I'm trying to remember the guy's name, the captain guy that like no one really likes at the start. So that scene with David where the one captain I can't remember the name of that dies after having the facehugger impregnate him, after David's like, let me show you around, give you the evil tour. And then the little xenomorph that comes out of that, and David raises his hands and the xenomorph follows suit and they like mimic each other a little bit. I really like that scene. And thematically, it's one of the few things that I think connects nicely to Prometheus. David's part of the story connects, I'd say, reasonably well. But for the human side of things, no, it's a bit action schlocky, and I think that takes away a lot of the things that I liked about Prometheus. That's not to say it's bad. I think it's fun in a lot of those ways, and it's a really enjoyable movie if you're watching it in isolation. You take it out of the context of the greater Alien franchise. I think you can still watch it and appreciate it with the context of Prometheus. But as I mentioned in my Prometheus video, I think these movies are very different to the rest of the Alien franchise. And that's why a lot of people don't like them, because thematically they're very different to the rest of the Alien franchise. Which again, it can be a good or bad thing. That's up to interpretation. I personally really like them despite the fact that they're very different to the rest of the Alien franchise. But like, I understand why people don't like them for the same reason. It's a very divisive one that I think is actually quite reasonable. But yeah, the rest of the movie, I think the new Xeno designs are all really good. So big thumbs up for those. I think the way that it's shot is very different to Prometheus, which I found interesting. It feels a bit more like your typical sci-fi blockbuster at the moment. That being said, I think the art direction and cinematography is a good cut above most sci-fi blockbusters of late. So don't take that as an insult. It's a good thing. It stylistically fits into that more. They've definitely moved even further away from Geiger's stylings, which I think is probably the one thing that I'm not a fan of. I really like Geiger's work and I really like seeing it on screen. But yeah, there's elements of it, but it's really, really few and far between. But overall, I don't get why people still hate on Covenant. When it came out, I can look back and I can understand that. But currently, I don't get it. And I'm now fully on the bandwagon of people that want to see the rest of Ridley Scott's prequel trilogy that he had planned before the Fox acquisition. Just wanted to quickly add that a lot of the things that people complain about in Covenant are the same tropes that people complain about when they go back and watch the original Alien. Yeah, it's a horror movie. They don't know they're in a horror movie. So they're gonna do the things that to the audience is like, obviously don't fucking do that. The one thing I will agree with is when David has been revealed as being evil engineer of this whole fucked up situation, and that captain that has the neomorph burst out of his chest, he's like getting the evil layer tour. The fact that he does trust David when he says, yeah, have a look. Perfectly safe. That one, I'll agree, super fucking stupid. Probably the worst part of the movie, which is a shame because that neomorph scene where the little guy comes out of the chest and he's doing the hands matching David. I love that scene. It's really, really fucking good. Anyway, I'm seeing Romulus in 2 days. So at the time of recording, this might go up later. I'm keen. I'm curious to see how I feel about it because it seems very divisive so far. Anyway, there's my video on Prometheus. There's my video on the main channel about alien design. Peace. I'm holding the mic. I'm not trying to flip you off. I'm sorry.